Hi guys, today I want to talk about one of the key fundamentals, one of the things I think is really key to being able to play really good pool, and it's a fundamental that I think, whilst a lot of people are aware of, I don't think that many people really take into consideration. And I've seen really good players, I've seen county players, even seen international players who probably don't quite adopt this principle, and it can hurt them when they get themselves into some tricky situations. And that fundamental is thinking about the 8 ball backwards, thinking about the black backwards when you're going for your clearances. Now, what I'm going to do today, I've talked about this before, but today I want to really simplify it. And today I'm going to show you a few different layouts and talk to you about how I would think about black backwards on layouts like this, like these. So 2 reds in the 8 ball, you're on reds, and it's really simple. If you forget about the 8 ball and you're thinking about the reds, you can actually pop both reds comfortably, and you can play position onto the other red comfortably. So you can play A to B, B to A, whichever way you want to go, and it's fairly simple. But to see the whole clearance, you have to think about the 8 ball as well. Now, whilst if you've got good potting and good cue ball control, either of these could be good balls for the 8 ball, but you should still think about it and still consider it all the way through, because the harder the finish, then the more this is going to apply. So how do I decide which one of these 2 I want to be my last ball? Well, a good way of doing it, certainly in really basic terms and simple terms, is seeing, does any of your balls, if you could turn any of these balls into a cue ball, would that be a good position to be on the 8 ball? Then yeah, you could pop both from there. But imagine if that red there had been turned into a cue ball, I'm straight in on the 8 ball to the corner. So I like that. If I can get straight on that red, I like that as my last ball. It's really nice and comfortable. So I've identified that as my ball to get onto the 8 ball. Therefore, this is the first ball I'm going to pot. And all I have to do, because it's a really simple layout, is just come back an inch or so and leave myself straight in on the red. Even if I went forward, I could come across this side of the 8 ball. But that's the way I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about straight in on that one, 8 ball into that corner. Let me go through this one and we'll lay out another one. Okay, I've laid the balls out once again, 2 reds in the 8 ball. This time I've moved the 8 ball across to a side cushion because I want to highlight this principle of 8 ball backwards even more. This time it's much more important to get better onto the last ball, to be able to get nicely onto the 8 ball, because you do not want to leave yourself an awkward 8 ball and all of a sudden it becomes missable. So you want to make it as easy as possible to pot the 8 ball. So once again, we have to go back to that principle of working out the clearance, which way we're going to go about these 3 balls, 8 ball backwards. And I'm in a position where I can pot either red, and I can pot them in either order, and I can get from one red to the next both ways. I could pot this one, come back, I got that one, I could pot that one, and I've got this one in the center. And to be honest, I could go both ways and I could still get onto the 8 ball. But let's try and make this as simple as possible, and let's try and get ourselves into that mindset and that principle of thinking 8 ball backwards. And that is going to identify which order we go in. So let's look at it here. Which one of these 2 reds, if I was to change the red to a white, would be the best to pot the 8 ball? And it's this one here. If that red was a cue ball, I'm nice and straight in on the 8 ball to the corner. So I know that if I finish anywhere near straight on that red, I can drop it in and I've got a simple 8 ball. So we've identified that as our ball to get on the 8 ball, and now we've got this one has to be our first ball, and all we need to do is stun it in, or perhaps bring it back a couple of inches roughly to where it is now, and then we've got the simple drop in that we've talked about. And that, although this is a simple layout, I think it's important to really start to identify these sorts of layouts and really train yourself to think 8 ball black backwards. Let me work through this one and show you that. Again, it's 3 straight pots, 3 very simple pots, and when your patterns are really good, that is the sort of situation you can find yourself in. That's what the great players do. They make those finishes look really simple. And okay, yes, it is really simple. There was only 2 balls and the 8 ball, and I made it simple. But you've got to start thinking in this way to make the game as easy as possible for yourself. Let's set up another one. Okay, I've set up another layout. This time I've moved the 8 ball to the bottom cushion, and we've got 2 reds on the table. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to identify the route we want to take to make this as easy as possible. And the 2 reds, I'm absolutely in the middle of them. I can drop that one into the corner and that one into the center, or that one into the center and that one into the corner, really, really simply. So to go from A to B or B to A, very, very simple. But how do I decide which way I want to go? Well, again, it's thinking black backwards. Well, which ball from these 2 do I want to get onto the 8 ball nice and comfortably? Has to be this one. Just if you're straight in on that one, you can drop it in, you've got the 8 ball to the corner. Really, really simple. So we know that we want to be straight in on that one to the corner. Therefore, we know that that one has to be our first ball. We take that to the corner first, then we get that one into the opposite, sorry, that one into the center, that one into the corner, and then we have the simple 8 ball. And again, it is all about, I know this is simple and I know I'm really trying to simplify it, but this is all about trying to train ourselves to think black backwards. So let's try it. I'm going to work through this one. Once again, it's a very simple 3 roll-in shots, and it's 3 roll-in shots because I've identified the route I want to go from the black backwards. If I'd gone into the corner pocket first, even if I'd gone into the corner pocket and I left myself a perfect angle on that one to the center to come down the table, I'm working harder than if I'd gone the way I went there. So really important to just always, even when they're simple, think about black backwards. And I'm going to keep saying it because I think it's such a big, big fundamental. Let's lay them out again. Okay, so we've got another layout now, and again, it's 2 reds to the 8 ball, and it's really simple to pot 1 red, then the next red, or that red and then that red. They're very simple, easy to pot one to get on the other and vice versa, so we can go in any different way. But how do we decide which one we take first and second? Well, again, we work it out from the 8 ball backwards. We have to work out which one we want to use to get on the 8 ball. And this time I made it slightly trickier because before I was saying what you want to do is look at if I could change one of the reds into a cue ball, then which one would be the easiest to pot the 8 ball? Well, in this scenario, neither of them. If either of those balls have been turned into a cue ball, we're not nicely on the 8 ball. So we have to decide which way we want to get onto the 8 ball, which way is the easiest to get onto the 8 ball, and which way is the most natural to keep it as simple as possible. And this then starts to come down to personal preference and how you want to go about it. But for me, it's very, very simple for this one. If I know that if I finish just low of straight on this one here, I can pop that into the corner. The natural angle of the cue ball is drifting into this area here. So I've got a massive wide margin of error to land nicely on the 8 ball. So I know that as long as I finish just short of straight, anywhere here, got a very simple shot onto the 8 ball. So that's the way I see it. So if I know that's going to be my last ball onto the 8 ball, take that to the corner and bring the white back to about here, then I can just roll it in. And again, it's going to be three very simple pots. Let me prove that by just running through it. I'm a long way short of straight, so I can just drop this through. Natural angle drifts behind the 8 ball. Nearly missed the pot, but that's okay. I'm straight in on the 8 ball. And again, I've played 3 natural roll-in shots and made the clearance as simple as possible. And I've done that because of my thought process. My thought process was 8 ball backwards, and that's what really helped me. I've laid them out once again, 2 reds, the 8 ball, very similar to before. This time, how are we going to go about thinking about it? Well, we're on this red better than we are on this red. So this red into the center pocket looks our obvious first ball, because if we drop that one into the center, then we're on this one into this center pocket. So really, really simple to pop that one to get on this one. And yeah, it is. And I could play position from this one to the 8 ball, but I want to see this, I want to get this thought process really working. So instead of just going for the obvious A to B, I want to start thinking about black backwards. That's how I want to think about this. So I'm going to work it through. Is that the best way I could go here? Well, That's the better ball to get onto the 8 ball, the way I'm looking at it. If I turn that red into a cue ball, I'm better on it. But if I'm somewhere here, I can drift in right behind it, get nice and close, very, very simply with a natural shot. So I actually really like that as my last ball. So even though that pot to the centre pocket is easier than this pot to the corner, I think it's better to take the one to the corner for me, because I've got one straight pot to the corner. It's a simple stun shot, leaves me straight in on that one to the centre, and it's a roll through anywhere in this area here, and I've got a simple 8 ball. So I've changed my route. If I was just thinking A to B, I would go for that one, then this one. But because I'm thinking black backwards, I want that to be my last ball. I've now identified this as the ball I'm going to go for. So it's completely changed the way I'm going to go about this 3 ball finish. Now, let me just work it through once again, just to show you. So let's take this to the corner, simple stun shot. So even though that was a harder pot than the one to the corner, to the middle, it was still a comfortable pot because it's a straight pot. And now I'm in a position where it's just a simple drop-in shot. And I'm nicely behind the 8 ball for a comfortable finish. Now I know I've laid all these different layouts, I've laid them out in a really simple way, and yes, it's 2 balls and the 8 ball, and yes, this is really, really simple. And if you're a competent cuer and potter and cue ball control, then you could probably take any of these layouts I've done in either order and still be absolutely fine. But for me, it's really important, even on simple layouts like these, to really start to train yourself to think black backwards. Think about the 8 ball first. Think about which order you're going to go on it, which ball do you want to be your last ball. And once you start to identify that, you can start to see, when there's all the balls on the table, you can start to see a much clearer pattern, a much better way of going. And we see it all the time. The best players in the world, they make clearances look really, really simple, and you can be forgiven for going, well, they just keep getting really good layouts. And it's not that they get good layouts, it's that they make layouts look simple because of the way they think about it and the routes they go. They make the patterns look really, really simple because they play a lot of roll-in shots just by taking things in the right order. So that's how I think it's really important for us to all start thinking. If you can start to train yourself to think black backwards, it's amazing how much easier the clearances will become to you. Go away, give it a try, just get a couple of balls on the table, do what I've done, just start to really try and teach yourself that thought process, and let me know how you find it. I'll comment below, I want to hear from you, and of course please subscribe to the channel. It really does help, and thanks very much. I'll catch you next time.